your average 3-year-old has been on the planet for 1,200 days. And yet we expect them to make consistently good decisions. And I'm like, how long have you been on the planet? And how many good decisions do you make consistently? So this kid comes along. You think you've been parenting forever. You've been parenting for 1,200 days. And 365 of that, you were buried because there was infancy and there was nothing going on but, sleep, poop, and trying to get more sleep.
Yeah, survival for sure.
And so like potty training is around, 2 to 3 years. You're not that experienced yet. You know what I mean? And so I think one of the things that makes it such a challenging milestone is this is the first time you're going to teach your child something with one desirable outcome. Up until now, it's been, who cares? Sometimes you get the food in your mouth, sometimes you don't. You build a tower of 1 blocks, you build a tower of 5 blocks. This is the first thing where there's one desirable outcome, and if that doesn't happen, you're not successful. And I think what happens is if it starts to go a little wonky, your new mom identity is threatened. You're like, oh, what if I'm a bad mom? It's the kid. They're difficult. Nope. I'm going to wait till they're ready. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so we get into a mess because I think it just messes with us. Like, what if you are a bad teacher? And we all are.
Welcome to the Family Lab podcast, where we embrace the fact that raising kids and running a home is one big experiment. Not to brag or anything, but all 5 of my kids are potty trained. They're also ages 10 through 20, so I should hope so. But with 5 kids, I changed diapers for pretty much 12 straight years, so it did feel pretty miraculous to reach the potty training milestone with number 5. Today's guest is a firecracker of a human, Jamie Glowacki. She's a potty training expert, and she wrote the book that I wish I had had when I was potty training called Oh Crap, Potty Training. She also hosts a fabulous podcast called Oh Crap with Jamie. Jamie would be the first to acknowledge that there isn't one right way to potty train, since every kid is so different. But she has helped potty train a lot of kids, and she's drilled it down to such a great method. In this episode, we'll talk about that method, divided into 5 stepping stones, but first we'll talk about the when and why of potty training and her overall potty training philosophy. Talking to Jamie almost makes me want to go back and do it all again. Almost. So I don't really think there's a traditional way to become a potty training expert, because who even knew that was a thing? But Jamie's route was unexpected, to say the least, by way of circus performing.
I was a performer in my 20s and early 30s, and I did circus work. I was a musical theater performer, did tours, national tours, and then I took up trapeze and then retired from that and became a social worker. That was the only strange leap.
Yeah.
And then as a social worker, I also became a doula because I had to advocate. And so it just ended up, I don't know, I was just very attuned to it. And then and any party or anything, the kids always followed me. I think I just speak kid, or there's a lot of kids don't know if I'm a grown up or not. They'll be like, are you a kid or are you a grown up?
I love it.
And so but I was well acquainted with like potty training and potty training norms. And then when I worked in social work, I was seeing like 4 and 5-year-olds in diapers, and these women were on disability and had SSI, and diapers were expensive. And so I just started working with them. And I had my son at 38. I moved from San Francisco back to my hometown of Rhode Island, and I opened a secondhand kids store. And so Pascal turned 22 months, and I told all my mom friends, I was like, I'm out for a week. I can't meet. I'm potty training. And it was the first time I met like society, because people said, you can't potty train a boy at 22 months. That's young. Boys take longer than girls. And I was like, what? What? No, that's not true. And everybody was just astounded. Number 1, at his age, which that's the age you potty train. And
right.
Number 2, that he was a boy.
Right.
And people would be like, people would stop me in the street and be like, is that the baby? Is that the baby who's potty trained? Like, he was famous. I'd go into Whole Foods and they were like, I've heard that baby's potty trained. It was just really weird. And I had no idea what was going on. And so people started coming into my store like, hey, what's the trick? That was the first time I had ever heard, what's the trick? So I was like, there is no trick. It's like consistency and repetition, like everything else you teach a child. So finally I started holding classes, and then the classes were selling out and more people wanted classes. And I was like, not really selling and buying clothes anymore. I was like holding classes. It was a snowball going downhill. Like, I never wanted to talk about pee or poop for the rest of my life. Like, I did not intend on this.
Right. In the middle of that, were you actually doing like consulting too? Like, were you helping people like hands-on?
Yeah, I would do some consulting hands-on, but I found mostly hands-on would be very taxing, and it would be
Yeah.
taxing on my time and
Yeah.
then taxing on your finances. So it's not ideal unless you have a really specific circumstance. So I prefer not to do in homes because I'd rather coach you on what the tone is, what the vibe is.
Well, and the parents are the ones that have to follow through afterwards too. Like
Right,
it's good
right.
if
And
they're
that,
involved.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Because
Okay, well,
I
I
don't know
love
what you're going to
that.
do when I'm gone.
Yeah. Isn't it so funny? Like, if somebody would have told you that was going to be your career, like, what would you have said?
I mean, I guess, like, people who knew me when I was younger think it makes sense because I guess I was always into, like, scatological humor. Like, I'm a
Oh.
4-year-old boy stuck in a 57-year-old woman's body. Like, the funniest thing you can do is fart in front of me, and I will die laughing every time.
Well, they say that the person who doesn't laugh at farts has the same number of farts but less laughter. So,
Yeah, that's real.
okay, so let's kind of talk about your overall philosophy for potty training, starting with the age, maybe.
Yeah, so I think my, like, overarching philosophy is this is just another developmental milestone. Like, we've built it into this huge thing. And not only has it gotten scary for people, but the asinine things I see online is like, it's, potty training is contingent on brain development. Like, absolutely not. This has nothing to do with um, brain development, with intellect. How did they learn how to walk? They practiced. Did they fall? Yes. But it wasn't like pee and poop on your carpet. It didn't feel like a measurement of your parenting. And I think somewhere along the line, I think it's the 3-day method, like, started to be released. And people started to equate that with, like, if it's not done in 3 days, they're not ready. No, that's like, no. If a kid has even difficulties when we send them to kindergarten and we find out they have dyslexia, we don't say, they're not ready. There's something wrong. They're
Yeah, pull
not
them out.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it combines with a lot of uh, a, a, a new generation of parenting in which there's no distress tolerance. So they cannot bear a mistake being made. They cannot bear a child being in discomfort. They can't bear bumps in the road. And so, um, yeah. So my thing is, it's just a developmental milestone. I think it's also a habit. Like, you're not teaching your child to pee or poop. You're teaching them to put it in a designated space. So that is socialized behavior. And all cultures, there's nobody who, like, poops in their own bed. Like, all cultures, and a major portion of the globe uses elimination communication, which is potty training right from the get-go. So the idea, we essentially teach kids to poop in their diaper, and then we're shocked that they don't want to give that up, right? And
Right.
so I like to take it from the kid's mind, but diaper wearing is a habit, and the longer it goes on, the longer the habit gets entrenched. And this is particularly true with neurodivergent kids who really struggle a lot with transitions, and breaking habits. And so if you have a 4-year habit as opposed to a 2-year habit, it's going to be harder at the 4-year habit. So that comes into age. Maria Montessori, the OG, thought potty training should happen between 12 and 18 months. And that's how far we've skewed. And of course, it takes time. And it should be presented to the child, but nobody has time for that anymore, right? And so my age range is 20 to 30 months, is where typically around 24 months is the sweet spot. And I use that age range because I think most developmental milestones have already been hit. They're walking, they're starting to use, silverware properly, separation anxiety might be going away. So they're kind of cruising right now. Now they're going to refine those skills. And then after 30 months, it's not a hard cutoff. You could even go to 36 months, and every kid's different, but then you hit 3, and that is the age, that's individuation. So 3 years old, a lot of times you may have heard the term three-nager. So three-nager, I love that term. I love the term because it's actually a similar process that teenagers go through, but teenagers, there's higher risk, and it's more important for teenagers. It's when they discover that they're separate from you and they're their own person. Now, this is what we have to encourage in teenagers to fly the coop, right?
Right.
And they have to butt against you and be their own
Mhm.
person and have different opinions and different clothes and different likes, so that they can start to grow and be their own person. So a 3-year-old goes through something similar. Prior to 3, there's a magical thinking of the child. They are enmeshed with you. They're one. They actually, when they bonk their head, they think you feel their pain. They're one with you, and you can see this. If you're tired and exhausted, they're going to hang on you. They're borrowing your nervous system at all times. And that's why it seems so frustrating. This is the age of free will and choice. It's the age of, oh, look, the sky's blue. No, it's not. It's no,
Yeah.
no, no. And it's a great age. It's blossoming personality. But if you put bodily functions on top of this, you're running into a whole bunch of trouble. And
Yeah.
so you want to hit it before then. And I'll see, I'll post this on Instagram and the comments are like, you were so right. But I don't even know what to do with this kid. 3 is challenging.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know who ever came up with terrible 2, but I'm
Dude,
like, that is insane.
My son was
2-year-olds are the sweetest things.
they're totally. My son was 28 months, and I had the actual hubris to say out loud, this is easy. Yeah. God
Yeah, and
struck
then-
me down.
Yeah.
The day he turned 3, it was like the devil himself
Yes.
moved into my house. And I felt like I had been cruising in first gear in a sports car, and I had to whip it into 5th. I was like, yeah.
3 has always been a major
Yeah, it's like a flip.
shift. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's my age range, and I think it's also the age in which you want to capitalize on their willingness to help. That's the age where I do myself. They're craving autonomy, and we shut this down in so many ways. We shut it down with that potty training. We shut it down with them wanting to help with chores, with them wanting to help clean and help run the house, help cook. We don't honor it. And then we're shocked when we can't get our 9-year-old to help because we haven't honored it in the younger years. So I think that's the perfect age range. Again, give or take. It's, a lot of people do it at 16 to 18 months. A lot of people do it a little later. But I think if your child knows all their colors, it's time for them to not be sitting in their own poop. I think it's disrespectful.
Yeah. No, I like that. And for me, it was kind of necessity too. I had my kids all pretty much 2 years apart. There was a 3-year gap with the last ones, but I was
Yep.
like, I got to get this done before the next one comes, or
Mhm.
it's never going to happen, So
Yeah.
so it was always late pregnancy coincided with potty training for me.
Good for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't ever blame individuals, because I mean, I could spend the whole nother podcast on this, but this
Right.
is targeted. This is big diaper. And the biggest thing that changed was my parents used cloth diapers. Disposables were around. My mother said they were as absorbent as a lunch paper bag. They were awful and expensive. So people used cloth diapers. Cloth diapers were bulky, and they had soakers on top of them. And even the more refined cloth diaper systems that we have now, they weren't even that way when Pascal was born. So his booty was a good 3 inches big. It was impeding his movement. He was like, get this off of me. Plus, he could feel the wetness. So if you think about what's the marketing for disposable diapers, the amazing wicking power, your child won't feel they're wet.
Let's make this
Dude, we're messing it
comfortable.
I know. We're messing it up. And this is a $9 billion industry. It is huge. And so Pampers started this, wait till they're ready. That is a marketing campaign put out by disposable diapers. Yeah. And so now that myth persists, wait till they're ready. And I always ask people, I'm like, what does that mean? No kid ever takes off their diaper and says, I'm ready. I'm going to go sit on the potty. I think we miss the subtle cues that they give us that they're capable.
Although I had two children who just at around 2. Well, one was on his 2nd birthday.
Mhm.
The very day he turned 2, and he went to his nap. At the end of his nap, he poops, tears off his diaper, and smears it everywhere. He was just done. He's like, I'm 2. I'm done sitting in a poopy diaper. And then
Yeah,
the next one did the same thing. I was like, oh, okay. And it's not like then they were potty trained. I still had to potty train them.
Sure.
But that's how I
exactly.
knew it was time.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't going to deal with that.
Yeah.
In fact, well, yeah, one I had to because we were in the middle of a move, and I had to put her pajamas backward, her footy pajamas. I had to cut off the feet and put them backwards so she couldn't get them off and get the diaper off, because I was like, we can't potty train in the middle of a move. But I also can't have you making this mess. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's a whole
That's
story,
so
but
funny you did that, because that's one of my tricks if you're struggling with that. And But I guess with a mom of 5, you've got a lot of tricks up your sleeve.
Right, right. You learn as you go. But yeah, like my others did not at all indicate any readiness. I just knew like, okay, you're due, let's do it. But
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's gotten out of control. So, like 2 years ago, I heard from 6 families who were literally delaying kindergarten, which in the US is 5 or 6 years old, delaying kindergarten because their kid wasn't ready to potty train. And I was like, what? And these are neurotypical kids, average development. And then this year, it hit critical mass. And there are like kindergarten teachers online were like, what is going on? These kids are coming
really.
to school not potty trained. Yeah, it's bad. Hmm.
Wow. I knew the shoe tying thing, but I didn't know the potty
I know,
training
the
thing.
shoe tying thing. Yeah, no, yeah, it's sad. I think about this a lot because I have the luxury of time now. Your
Yeah,
listeners
right.
might be in the thick of it. And so I like to say I'm doing the observation for you guys. And I talk about this on my parenting podcast. It's we're creating the thing we're complaining about. The antidote is slowing down, and nobody wants to do it because it's like the kids in social media. Kids don't love it, parents don't love it, and nobody wants to be the first to get rid of it. They don't want to be the stronghold. And so people tell me I don't have time. And it's a shame because the same thing with sippy cups. So when you're potty training, I say you have to give up sippy cups because you can't monitor how much, these kids have sippy cups everywhere. And oftentimes they're sucking for comfort. But the biggest thing is there's no biofeedback. When I hold a glass of water, I have to hold it here, put it to my mouth, or put it down. I can't be flinging it all over the place. And it's these little things. It seems like it's a minor thing, but that kid is not learning if I do this, this happens, right? Tying shoes is a great milestone. And we've eliminated it. The reason we have Velcro is because everybody's too busy.
Yeah.
I don't have time in the
Yeah.
morning. I don't have time to do this. And it's just a cycle too. Like I just got off another podcast where we were trying to kind of pull apart like millennial parenting from like Gen Z parenting and because I feel like it's changed so drastically from
Oh,
when my son was little.
yeah.
And part of it is like, I'll have parents say, no, I'm not night training. I'm sleeping. And I'm like, you a parent now. You don't sleep. At least the first 6 years, you don't. Like, so it is that like, it feels like hanging on to their old identity. And I'm going to have everything stay the same, but I need my child to step on board. And it's like really not fair to the kids, but they're missing out on these minor things. And we're in a crisis, Whitney. I mean, kids are mental. There's a 2-year wait for psychiatric care for kids under 6. Like, that's intense. Like, what is going on? And part of it is like autonomy. Give them the gift of potty training and being in charge of their bodily functions. That's like amazing. And then they want to help around the house. Like, that's what gives kids the power, that autonomy.
Well, and just this connection to the physical world. Like the park is right down the street.
Right,
And,
right.
all these things that you
Or
can.
control over their own life and their own body. We're obsessed with giving kids choices, but then we don't let them actually help in real life and do things that make them feel important, feeling, part of the family. Like I go through this all the time with the parenting stuff is like allowances. And I say, no, I give my kid an allowance to manage money. It wasn't tied to chores. You do chores. You live in a house. Like he's always cleared his own plate, always helped with the dishes. Like, you know what I mean? And people go like, how do you get a kid to do chores? How do you not?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but they're not taking part. And I think what parents don't, there's a great African proverb. The child who does not feel, a child who does not feel the warmth will burn down the village to feel it. And so, we see all this behavior right now. Kids are like wacky behavior. But it's because we're not letting them be in charge of things. We're not actually letting them have control. And, I could go on and on about risk
Well, you're
and
speaking my language.
risk assessment and how we're overprotective and hypervigilant and we're just driving them crazy. And we think somehow it's safer for them to be inside all the time watching a screen instead of and like you said, it can be free. Even if you don't live near a playground, you can still have all these. I just like kids helping in the
You
kitchen,
can still go on a walk and interact with
Mhm.
the physical world. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so speaking my language, which is why I'm doing a whole probably year and a half on self-reliance. That's the whole
Yeah. And it
um
starts with
yeah.
potty training. That's the number
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Um, I made these, this self-reliance checklist. I
Oh,
don't know what you
nice.
can see. So it starts, I think, yeah, this is the first page. So it starts with hygiene and grooming for that reason, because it's one of the first things that they should be able to do.
Yeah.
And then they track going from helper to worker to manager.
Oh,
And once
nice.
they get to manager, you don't have to do like, I don't track when my kids are going to the bathroom anymore. They are fully managers on that. That
Right.
mental load is off my plate. It's totally on them. And so in all those categories, we're just trying to get them from that helper to the worker to the manager. and
Yeah.
and it
And
applies with
helper
potty
too.
training too.
Yeah, and it's fun too because like, when your kids go to kindergarten, there's gonna be a couple of kids who can tie shoes, and they're gonna be the gold standard, and the teacher that's what happened in Pascal's, kindergarten class. Him and another kid could tie shoes, and he was Mr. Like, strutting around the house that he knew how to do it. I was like, "Oh, the pride in self-reliance." Yeah.
And I swear that's shifted to like 4th grade. Like that's when kids are learning to
Unbelievable.
tie their shoes these days. Okay, so let's talk about just the overall building blocks, and you have them set in blocks. I love that about your system. So tell me about the block system for training kids.
So when I first wrote the book, I I have to admit it was like a 3-day method because that's what I had heard,
Uh-huh.
3 days. But again, this remember, I was learning from moms who were stay-at-home moms. So like 3 days was gonna get you over the hump. What I found over the years was that because moms work outside of the home more often than not now, people were getting very tied to things happening on the days. And so I needed another quantifiable way to indicate when you should move on. And it can't be based on days because every kid's different.
Right.
And so I got the blocks because it was like a building block for kids. Like if you think about a tower that you're building with the blocks, and that way they're kind of self contained and you know when to move on or when not to move on. But also, if you build the tower and you're on block 3 or 4 and all of a sudden it's unstable and it looks like it's kind of falling apart, go back to the block that is the most stable. So you may have to go back to
Ooh,
block 1, block
that's
2. So
great.
that it made it quantifiable so that it would stand alone in each section. So block 1, and you're putting my feet to the fire here because I'm not even sure if I remember my own blocks.
I can help
Um
you. I just read the book.
so block 1 absolutely has to be pantless, and this doesn't have to be naked. Most kids love being naked, but I hear some kids don't. So it has to be bare bottomed because if they have pants on, and think about it, dude, if I let me preface this. I wish that you could say to a toddler, "We're potty training. You put your pee in the potty, and that's how it goes down." It doesn't go down that
Yeah.
way. You have to notice them starting to pee. You have to get them to the potty or the potty to them very quickly without freaking out. And yes, there may be pee on your floor. Like it, and people will freak out thinking that's an accident. No, no, no. This kid went from wearing a diaper, peeing whenever they wanted, to now this.
Well,
So,
it's going back to like when you're talking about a kid learning to walk. You don't get mad at them when they fall.
right, right,
You
right.
know,
Right.
it's yeah,
And it's a learn you watch them pull themselves up first. You watch
yeah.
them get unstable. So, but if they start to pee in pants, by the time you see the wetness, they have emptied their bladder and now you've missed the learning opportunity. The other thing is that kids who start to pee in their pants or poop in their pants, that will become a habit within a day or two. It is so fast. It happens so fast, particularly pooping in the pants. So that's block 1. Block 2 is commando. So you want the kid to get dressed because naked potty trained is pretty easy. You want the kid to have pants on. I always recommend loose, like sweatpants, shorts. You're done with overalls. You're done with onesies. You're done with zip ups for
Right.
the time being. Done with belts. Like that's not happening. And you want them commando because if you think about what underpants are, they're one layer of fabric, but they're snug around the upper thigh and around the waist, which is exactly where a diaper is
Mm.
snug.
Yeah, so it's
There's a
like status
muscle
quo. Yeah.
memory. Yeah. So your kid will just often release in the underpants. And that is one thing that happens I see very quickly with people who haven't read my book is they think potty training is going from diapers to underpants and the kid's just wetting through the underpants because you have to kind of clear that muscle memory.
Yeah, that
The
was one of the biggest aha moments for me when I was listening to yours. I was like, that's because I did the we did the no underwear for a
Yep.
while, and especially in the summer, that was the best when you could do it in the
Yeah.
in the yard
Yeah, yeah.
instead. But, yeah, we did that, but then I did go straight to underpants, and I think that that would have sped things up for me if I would
Yeah.
have realized the commando thing, because it's also not only does it give the sensation of a diaper, but it's also just one more thing to wrangle when you're in a
Yeah.
hurry.
Yeah. And so that is another thing, like in my book, I say this too, is you want to work on them dressing themselves because one of the things that happens is people, people potty train and their kids have no idea how to put their clothes on. You know what I mean? So that's, I always say like have dressing parties. Let's practice. Let's put on this, put on that.
That was the only way that where my daughter was easier than my son's is that she also liked to play dress ups and was dressing herself. And so she had that part. That part was easier for her. And it might have just been her. I only have one girl. I have
Yeah.
four boys. So but that was the only thing that
Sure.
gave her an edge
Sure.
is just
Sure.
the dressing.
I do think
Right.
girls have more integrity about lacy panties. I think they're a little more incentivized by
Oh.
progressing to underpants, you know, the ones with like a little frill to them.
Right. Right.
And I think once pants are on, I think girls tend to have a little, you know, boys have a more YOLO, like who cares, you know. Um so yeah. So that's commando. Then block 3. So these are like the really intense days of potty training, block 1 and block 2. The 3-day thing, guys, get that out of your heads. Get that out of your heads immediately, particularly post-pandemic. So these kids are taking 7 to 10 days. So ideally, you can get a block 5 days, weekdays, and then shouldered by weekends. That would be the perfect time to potty train. A lot of times this means a break. You know, daycare break, a holiday break, something like that. A lot of people do it at Christmas because of the break. The reason is 3 days. Number one, it will never get a kid back to daycare. That's not enough time. Number two, post-pandemic, these kids are built different. They are taking a little bit longer in more recent years. So just know that. And if your child does have to go back to daycare, ask a lot of questions at daycare because daycare, if you just say we're potty training, they'll say, oh, we'll follow your lead. Not true. Not true. Be very specific about where the bathroom is. Do they take kids? Do the kids have to be self-initiating? So yeah. So block 3 is outings, and those are small outings. So this typically is in the first like 1 to 5 days of potty training. I hate to say day 3 because then parents get very locked. It's day 3. I want to do this. No, you want to quantify all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So
And make sure you've passed
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
benchmarks for
Yeah,
those
yeah,
other
yeah.
blocks.
And
Yeah.
it's literally, can
Mhm.
your child pee and poop on the potty
Yeah.
with prompting or without? Okay. So another real huge mistake that people make is expecting the child to inform you that they need to pee way too soon. And we'll get to that. So
Well,
block
and I
3,
remember like people would ask me like, well, are you potty trained or is your kid potty trained as I'm going
shut
through the
the F
process?
up.
I
Like that
know.
is the most
Like you
annoying
have to have
comment.
that stage where you're in charge of, like you're seeing
Like
the
that, but
cues and
you know this with kids. You're going to be prompting your kid till they're 16. They're going to be
yeah.
playing Minecraft, and you're going to be like, "Yo, put the mic down. You got to pee. I can
Yeah, I
see."
can see you're
The
dancing.
the difference is like you know it's part of the fabric of your life. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's just people looking. No, I hate that comment
Yeah.
because
I
it
know. It
doesn't
was the
matter. Because
worst.
also if people who EC, they're still picking up their kids' cues. And why is this? This is what gets me. When your child struggled with walking, didn't you hold their hands? Didn't you get like a little walker for them? This is the only milestone that we throw kids to the wolves. We
Yeah.
say, oh, you should do it and now be a pro at it. No accidents. Telling me, who does that? Like,
Yeah.
it's like we expect them to be grown and it's crazy. No.
Well, and one of the methods I followed, because I read different books with different
Sure.
kids. Think more things were coming out. I don't remember which kid it was, but one of them, it was like, if they have an accident, then you practice. But it kind of was this frantic thing, like where you're like, you go back to the place where they had the accident and you practice running to the potty before and you like did it 3 times. And I like tried it because I had read it. And after like doing it like couple times, I'm like, no, this is weird. It felt like a punishment, like this weird frantic
Not only that, but what
thing.
2-year-old wants to do that? Even 3-year-old. Like,
And it wasn't a
really?
real practice because the urge wasn't there. It's like
Th-
you don't want them to like be triggered by
Yeah.
the spot or by the, anyway, I quickly dumped that. You have to
Yeah.
try a lot of things as you're figuring this out.
There
But sometimes you get to a roadblock and you're like, I'll try anything.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the
I
things I learned
understand.
that did not work. Oh, I know you understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
understand, like, that's why I say I never fault parents, like, they make some colossal mistakes sometimes because 'cause they're in the thick of it, they're crying, they can't see a way out, you know? I mean, parents who are offering a trip to Disneyland for a single poop in the potty, I've seen all kinds of weird behavior because, like, you're
Yeah,
drowning and you
right.
don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
So block 3 is outings. Outings are great, like small ones, not grocery shopping for a week, you know. I always recommend trying to get out and use family bathrooms as much as possible so you don't create a weirdness with the potty chair or just needing you or, you know, we want them to get acclimated to public restrooms, but the family restrooms are the best because
Mhm.
all the other ones are really live and you'll turn the corner and the Dyson hand dryer, which is exactly the height of a 3-year-old is on, and it, like, blows them away, and so
And you quickly figure out where all those are located in all of your
yeah. Oh,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. And then block 4 is so after once you start doing outings, that's kind of the bulk of potty training.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
a big
hard
one.
part. Yeah. Then when you can start, like, going out more and taking them for longer things, they go back to daycare. The next block is underpants. You wanna add underpants to the mix, and this can be literally weeks or months. It just depends on your situation. So some kids, when they put on underpants, immediately start peeing in them. So I say, well, just give them a little more time commando. Obviously, if they have to go back to daycare, that might be a requirement. You know what I mean? So it depends on your situation. If you have the availability, keep them commando for like whenever. It doesn't matter. And people be like, I'm afraid of infection. It's like underpants are just a layer of fabric. So are their pants. So it doesn't
Yeah, and
really
there's
track.
no, like, morality attached.
Right, 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 and you do wanna
At
make
that
sure,
age
like
especially.
yeah, I know. You do wanna make sure that the clothes whatever you have for clothes and underpants, like, some kids you know how some kids have, like, a little bubble butt? So, you gotta really sometimes work with some kids to get their underpants over their bum, and I find that those little bubble butts are particularly
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
And I generally say at this stage, if you're seeing accidents every day, something's wrong, get help. That's not potty trained, okay? Now, if the accident is something accidents are always gonna happen, guys, that's why they're accidents, right? And you want it to be explainable at this stage, like, you kept them in the car seat, you wanted to run one more errand, 99% of the time, especially with moms, their intuition is the kid's gotta pee, they ignore it, and the kid has an accident. So,
Oh my
don't be
gosh, so
afraid, you
much.
you can be prompting, it can be a combination, you know, because block 5 is self-initiation. So this is when the child reliably and consistently tells you they have to go or goes on their own. This typically comes 3 to 8 weeks after your start date. When you start potty training, your child may be very excited and say, I have to pee. They might sit and pee. They are not reliable yet. So don't like the parents see that and they're like, oh, I'm done potty training, but they're not reliable yet. So don't be afraid of prompting because of that very mocking statement you said. Are you trained or your kid trained? No, we help our children with developmental milestones. Like if they need a little prompting, that's fine. And what you want to do is you want to reflect back to them their symptoms or their signal. Oh, hey, you're walking on your tiptoes and grabbing your crotch. Yo, time to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? So you want to reflect back to them so that can be their inner cue as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because they
And
might not realize. They
and
probably don't realize, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that reminds me, even right back to block 1 is stay away from effusive praise. I know you're excited, put your game face on, like a fist bump, the lower pitch. This is where dads are so much better than moms. They use less language and a lower tone. And so it comes off as more sincere. Like when a dad's like, yeah, nice. That's such better praise than, "Oh my god, you made it to party! Oh my baby,
Yeah,
I knew
let's do
you
a
would do it."
dance, sing a
Oh my god,
song.
the shrillness of, like, women that we get sometimes. So, stay away from that and don't make this a big deal because, again, these kids, post-2020, these kids are built different and they're so sensitive to you and your nervous system and how you are reacting. So, if you are not being normal and chill, they are gonna pick up on it, and that's gonna give them anxiety. They're gonna dig in their heels.
But
Okay?
I And I also loved in your book, like, that was one of my biggest ahas when I was reading it, is you talked about how if you make it a special occasion and you, like, buy all these special things
Yeah.
and all these things, then it seems like something you only do on special occasions. It's
Right.
not like an everyday thing. And I was like, yes, that articulates it so well, which I got better at as I got more children, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
the
yeah.
first one I did kind of make a big scene and
Well, and you know what? It's not like criminal or anything. The problem is
right.
that a lot of kids, particularly firstborns, are nervous learners. And now you've just made it this like stellar achievement. Now they're going to be nervous about reproducing the stellar achievement. And so it's just something I've just noticed, and it's just gotten worse, is like it just should be like every other day, except we have no pants on and we're putting pee in this container instead of the other one. And the more low key you can keep it, the better off.
Yeah,
I am
I like
seeing
that.
now, like the older Gen Z is coming through now with kids, and they're they're like, to use their vernacular, they're low key better at it because like they are so chill and they're like, all right, little man, whatever, you know what I mean? So I feel like the millennials got like wound up.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I can't state this enough. It's not a measurement of your parenting. That's what you got to stay away from. And that's why in my book, I'm like, don't post on social media. Don't tell a bunch of people. Everybody's going to give you some advice. Everybody's going to have their hand in your pie. And then if it doesn't go well and you might need to reset, you're going to be embarrassed. You've now made it a measurement of your parenting. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, this should
um,
not be a public parenting
yeah,
moment.
yeah, yeah.
That's great.
And, I always encourage people, I say there, like Yoda says, right? Like there's no try. There's do or do not. There's no try. I don't like we're gonna try potty training because that gives you an out. But I feel like just coast it. Like I can handle it. I can handle the bumps in the road because that chill, again, your kid borrows your nervous system. So if you go into this wound up, your kid's gonna dig in their heels. And then you're gonna get frantic. And if you have too many people in your head, you're going to get frantic and try this and this and this and this. And now you smell like fear and your kid is going to eat you like a piranha and spit out the bones. Like
So
you
true.
don't stand a chance.
Yes. Well, and yeah, just that's why I like the blocks because it's like it's showing that it's this process, not unlike this whole helper worker manager. Like
Right.
at first you're doing most of the work as the parent, and then you're gradually handing over the autonomy, and it's
Absolutely.
yeah.
I say that. I say you're 75% of this process. It's not them, it's you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the whole idea of taking time off, it's an investment really. Like you make the sacrifices, take the time off, focus on it, and have the kid take the time off, and you really focus, you really get it
Yeah,
done.
and it's
Yeah.
that thing, yeah, that we were talking about earlier too. I feel like is like it is the investment, and nothing's more important. Like when my kid was 3, preschool teaching winter clothes was far more valuable than any academics, right? And so taking some time now to give your kid that autonomy, because it doesn't. I think the biggest myth is that if you wait, it will get easier, and it doesn't in a
Mhm.
lot of cases. And people don't tell you the horror stories. People don't tell you the horror stories of reward systems gone wrong and ending up in family therapy because I've seen it routinely. So everybody thinks it's okay use an M&M until it backfires and you're buying your kid full on monster truck tickets to poop in the potty. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy and it doesn't get better with time. Some kids maybe, but why risk it? That's what I think because now you're always going to be up against some deadline. Like your kid might have to go to camp or wants to go to camp. And people be like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. And we have people not caring that they're putting off kindergarten. You're now making your kid a 7-year-old who's going to go into first grade. Like this is craziness, right?
Yeah.
Delaying their whole educational career because you don't think they're ready. What kind of rocket science do you think we got going on here? Because it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
then,
and
so
you've
block
seen
6 is night and nap training. And I just wanted to mention, so my book
yes,
is
yes.
divided because of busy parents, I did divide it into night and nap training. Just a generation ago, my mom's generation, they always did it at once. It wasn't a thing. And I believe there was a collective consciousness that kids could do it because parents were like, yeah, there were a couple of accidents here and there, but no, not a big deal. I also think we had better bedtimes, proper lighting and whatever. But
Right. Lots of things.
yeah, lots of things. But So you can do just daytime and not nighttime or nap time. So just know that, and that can be divided out if you want. It's simpler to do it all at once, but it's not easier. It's going to be a more hellacious week, and I would not recommend doing night training off the bat if the child has to go back to daycare because it can take a little bit longer for both to solidify, but then you're done with diapers and you're all set. So if you have that availability, you can do it all at once or separate it out.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love that because there's no way we can talk about all the exceptions and all the things, but I love that your book is there as a resource, your podcast is there as a resource. I had a very late bedwetter mixed in there, which is a whole separate
Mhm. Mhm.
can of worms, and
Yep.
did the same thing with all my kids, but he was, just different body and,
What I love with parents with multiple kids, because 'cause they're all so different, right? And I
yeah.
I have always said that, and it's wild, and so
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
constantly reiterating, like, you write a book based on the things that are most true for most people. If
Right,
I
as you have
wrote
to.
even a fraction of what I know about, like, individual kids that I've worked with, it would be, like, 30,000 pages, and you would never pick it up, like,
Yeah, and not useful.
yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, like not all things are going to work for all kids, and there's always outliers and there's exceptions, but there are resources, I try every time I hear of something, I try to incorporate it. And I always say, if you can swing it, get a consult. And a lot of people will come and just be like, I need help right from the get-go. And those are my favorite because I can fix anything in the moment, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
and that's super fun, but yeah, if you run into a glitch and just get help. Like I have a ton of consultants on my page. I do it too. It's okay to get help, but make sure the person you get help from, you don't have to use my book, you don't have to use me, but like make sure the person actually has some chops behind them because I'm hearing some ludicrous things. Like,
Really.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's an interesting concept to outsource. The first time I ever heard of that happening was, I had a friend whose mom, like, just as a gift to all of her children, she just was their potty training consultant. So she would come, drop everything, come stay at their house for a week and just focus and potty train their kids, like,
Nice.
as a gift to them. And I was like, "Oh, I was in the middle of potty training and I'm like, "There's no way I would do that." But after reading your book, I honestly was like, "I might be that grandma," because how awesome to spend a week one-on-one with a toddler learning this thing. Like,
Yeah.
we can be excited about potty training and not dread it. I wanna try some of these things that I hadn't tried
I
yet, and
think it's so that is the gift. First of all, involved grandparents is the new rich. And like I think there's so much going on. The multi-generational thing is key, right? We have expertized our world where we think an expert is better than a grandma. Grandma the OG expert, you
yeah,
know?
experiences expertise.
Yeah, and then the time, like right now everybody's so rushed, and so having that time and having a sane person. Look, I'm not the first person to bring this to the forefront, but new moms are crazy and they're worried about everything. And especially if it's your first, like get somebody with experience to help you regulate your nervous system. Like that's what grandmas do. They co-regulate moms
Yeah,
and
you
the
like, "It's
moms can
gonna be
co-regulate with the
okay."
kids. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, I think if you're under pressure, this is why I don't like when parents wait too long because you're always somewhere along the line, there's going to be a deadline.
Yeah.
And now you're putting pressure on the child. So the very thing you didn't want to do when they were two, because no, 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 I'm going to wait till they're ready, right? Which implies somehow other people are pressurizing their kids, which they're not. Now you've waited and now you got to get it done in 3 days because they have to go to camp or you lose $7,000 for that year. Or I don't like, I hear insane stories and I'm like, I can't do this. Believe it or not, Whitney, August I now take off because I cannot deal with the parents who waited too long
That's
for
a good
preschool or
call.
kindergarten, and now they make their lack of planning, they make my emergency, and I'm like, I can't help you. You are so strung out. Of course the kid's gonna dig in their heels. Like we have to just that's like my bigger message now is like our kids are borrowing our nervous system. So if you are strung out, they're going to be strung out and they're not going to. And guess what you can't do? You can't poop when you're strung out. Nobody can.
That that is yeah, like, more than any other thing that we're teaching our kids, this one is very contingent on relaxation.
Poop withholding's through the roof and it's because of
Yeah.
parental anxiety. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
You
don't
know,
intend I don't mean that, like and I don't say that to mean, if you wait till your kid's 5, I'm judging you. I just am. If they're neurotypical and you have no like, nothing but no barriers. But I do feel like, when I say some of these things, like, I know why parents are anxious, and I understand. Like, it's
right,
not I'm not
right.
saying, "Oh, it's your fault that your kid's doing this," but we have to look at, like, what lives are we creating? There's a bigger the holistic like a whole vision of your life. And if the kid is rushed, and I mean, I have kids in daycare from 7 to 7, they're going to school in their pajamas, changing in the parking lot, and I'm like, yeah, that kid's not going to poop with ease.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so we
Yeah.
have to look at the whole big picture, and a lot of it's just rebelling against society, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
building the granny commune. I'm building that so that, like, people can come and, like, I want moms to come and, like, get sleep, and then the grannies will help take the kids, and we'll, like, help them learn how to be feral and self-sufficient.
it's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I could that could be a whole other podcast because
Well,
I
wouldn't that be a
so
fun
believe in that.
vacation too? Like, you just get to sleep. We'll bring you coffee. We'll bring you breakfast in bed, and we'll take care of the kids.
And it's great for the grandmas too because they
Right?
get to be around
Exactly.
these young,
I only have
vibrant
one I
kids.
have only one kid. I'm never gonna get my grandkid Phil. Like, I'm gonna need surrogates.
Yeah, and lucky surrogates. That's awesome.
Right. You're gonna be
Yeah.
drowning in grandkids.
I am. I know my parents have 26. So
My God, that's awesome. That's
yes,
awesome.
it's great. Well, this has been amazing. Like I've been so excited to meet you just because I could tell that we would get along from your
We would
podcast. So, yes,
vibe.
exactly. See what I mean? Jamie is so fun. I learned so much from her, and I really do hope I can be the potty training grandma. Hashtag granny goals. And one last tip, since I forgot to mention it in the course of our interview, my friend Molly cracked the code of potty training when she hired her oldest daughter to potty train her youngest daughter in exchange for a new pair of Birkenstocks. That was the deal of the century, and she did a great job. So that's another little hint. So maybe somewhere out there can use that. For more help from Jamie, you can obviously buy her book, Oh Crap Potty Training. And there's a whole chapter for each of the 5 stages, plus multiple chapters for reluctant kids, exceptions to the rules, special needs, etc. And you can also listen to her podcast called Oh Crap with Jamie, which covers both potty training and a plethora of other parenting topics. You can also find her at jamieglowacki.com if you want to hire her as a consultant or one of her team. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Family Lab podcast. And thanks to my podcast managers, Kimberly Hansen and Haley McEnroe. And as always, special thanks to my mom, Susan Singley, for playing the theme music for this podcast. She used to play this song all the time when we were growing up, and to me, it's the soundtrack of motherhood.